Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael Hart, the Canada Research Chair in Indigenous Knowledges and Social Work. I welcome you to the Indigenous Knowledges and Social Work Speaker Series. Today I have the honor of introducing Dr. Kathy Absolon from Wilfrid Laurier University. I've known Kathy for a long time. Actually, no, just a little while. We first met in an organization in the early 90s. It was called WUNSCA. Where's our technician?
He's gone.
Seems like Fort Gary's sound.
Fort Gary, we'll get the volume done, but right now we can hear everything you're saying. So if you can hang on, I'll get you guys muted.
We can't hear you, Michael.
You can't hear us?
No. Not well. Please try to turn you up.
Is there a technician there? There's a volume on the little keypad. You can put the volume up. Is that our technician?
He's gone.
I'm going to keep going to the, on this thing. Here. Yeah, remember I think we can test it. Put it at the end.
Isn't technology wonderful?
Absolutely, Michael. That's better.
Okay.
Keep speaking so you can follow.
So, Kathy and I met in WUNSCA in the early 90s. WUNSCA being a Cree word meaning to rise up. And what WUNSCA was about was supporting one another as Indigenous scholars across the country. I see in Kathy's work she's influenced and carried that influence throughout the decades since the early 90s. I guess that's 2, going on 3. She's been at the University of Victoria, and she's now at Wilfrid Laurier since 2007. And she's presently the director of the Masters of Social Work program that has an Aboriginal focus. That's the best way to say it. She's second or third degree? Second degree Medewin. Been involved and relying upon our own culture, practices, our own values and ideas for as long as I know her, so much longer than that. She's full of wonderful stories and has much to offer us. So if you could take the time, you can welcome Kathy to our territory.
Bonjour. Minogijigon Kwe Indishnakas, Bobshishindoram, Line Post in Dunjabar, Kitchener, Ontario, and Diane. Ojibwe and Anishinaabe Kwe. I want to say Minokashep. Good day, everybody. Miigwech for having me here. Miigwech for inviting me and for helping me to get here. I'm really happy to be here, and it's wonderful to see Michael again. It's true, we've known each other for years, and we've walked on this path as colleagues for many years. I want to acknowledge this territory that I'm a visitor in today, and the ancestors of the land that are here. I see Miigwech for blessing us and for helping us today. I'm here to talk about, oh, here it is. That's a bundle. Holistic knowledge as a practice. And so if you want to go to the, I just want to acknowledge who I am. I'm the granddaughter of Lizzie and Shannon Cryer, both of Flying Post First Nation up on the Groundhog River in northern Ontario, and near a little place, I would say Foleyet, if anybody knows where Foleyet is. I'm the daughter of David and Jenny Absolon, and both of my parents are still with me. They're 83 and 82. My mom had knee surgery this morning, so I hear she's doing really well. She's a trooper. And I come from a little place called Cranberry Lake. And it's no place, it's not a reserve, it's not a town, it's pretty much in the bush. That's where I grew up. It's along the railway tracks, and Cranberry Lake is the name of the lake. So that's where I spent my first 20 years, was in the bush. And that's where my first teachers came from, was the land. I have a very, well, the spirit of the land is in me. And I always acknowledge the land and the teachings from creation in who I am today. And it's that very first place that I learned to walk in the bush that really is what I carry and keeps me grounded in what I do. Because, you know, I've been on a journey of recovery for many years. I'm 53 years old, I don't mind sharing that. And I've been on, for me, it's been a whole journey of recovery, my whole life. From, I call it WTHH. What the hell happened? And I remember that as a little girl, what the hell happened? And something in my spirit, something in what was going on in my home, what I saw going on in the communities where I hung out with, my friends in Pitrol, Envy, they call it Envy today. I was like, what the hell happened? Something in me knew that there was something amiss. So I had this curiosity of that question, what the hell happened? And my little spirit came into this world in shock because of what I was born into. And so it's been a lifetime of recovery, and it will be continuing a lifetime of recovery for me out of an understanding what the hell happened. So I acknowledge the OneSkin network because for me as a young social worker, the reconnections and networking that formed in the early 90s with OneSkin was really important to me at that time in my journey of building my bundles. From there, vision became a part of a group of people that were collectively asking what the hell happened and wanting to understand that and wanting to leave good footprints behind us in our families and in our communities. And so that group really nurtured me as an individual, nurtured us as a collection of social workers, helpers, educators across the country who were otherwise isolated, who were otherwise alone in our work. So that had a big impact on me. And then my journey of recovering my culture. And I've had many teachers along the way in that recovery. The land was my very first teacher. My family, Herb Nabagon was an early teacher. Elders like Liza Mosier and Anna Manitowabi from my area, up in Sudbury, Prairie Sound area. The people in the lodge, people in the Medewin Lodge, the helpers and the teachers there. And in my practice, all the people who I worked with, incredible teachers, women in prisons, women, families and child welfare, people in the mental health system, really amazing teachers for me. So my journey has been, and it continues, it's been quite a journey of rebuilding and building my bundle. And so I'll go to the next one. I shared this picture because it's because of this that when I started to understand the residential schools. The woman that's circled in that picture is my mother. And my mother went to the Chapleau St. John, the St. John Anglican Residential School in Chapleau, Ontario. And because of the trauma that our family experienced, because of the wounds that we incurred, because of how we carried those raw, open wounds into our relationships with each other, that I started to understand, I wanted to understand what the hell happened to her. because my mother grew up and medicated her pain with alcohol. And so I grew up in an alcoholic home. And I have so much compassion and love for my mom. She's such a beautiful lady. She's so amazing. And her spirit is so resilient that there's a little girl there with such a beautiful spirit. And it's because of her, it's because of what happened to our family that the rebuilding is necessary and the recovery is necessary at many levels for all of us. And I have my two uncles are in that picture too. I have my Uncle Jackson and my Uncle Jimmy in there. We should go. That's pretty cool, eh, how it comes down. I was playing with my PowerPoint. Like, oh, okay, I can make that. Good medicine bags. I'm not a fluent speaker, and recovering my language is something that I try to do. There's a saying, I'm trying to speak my language, and I'm trying to recover it because of what happened with my mom. She thought it was better for us that we would get along better in the world without our language if we were speaking English. So recovering the language. So a friend of mine, I talk about these things with other people when we're recovering and we're relearning something. It's good to talk about it. It's good to talk about and I was talking with different speakers who I know about. How would you say that whole idea of building our bundle and building, and my friend Patty Nawagizek from Gull Bay, she's a fluent speaker, and her and I came up with good medicine bag. And that's what I want to talk about, is the good medicine bag that refers to that good medicine that we put into our toolkits as helpers, that we do for ourselves, that good medicine that we carry as human beings. It could be that smile on your face when somebody comes into your office, that good medicine, that energy you have, that's good medicine. All of those things, it's like, what do we do and what do we carry in terms of building our bundles? And so culturally, a lot of today we're acknowledging the significance and the value of culturally informed practice or culturally infused treatment models, where our culture becomes part of the bundle, that which restores people's wholeness. And so, what's that? I want to share a story with you. And this is the story of two friends. This story is going to show up in a chapter. There's another volume of Wichita coming out. The first one was edited by Raven and Michael and Gord Briere. And the second one, this is a story that is going into that chapter. And it's about I don't want to tell you what it's about before I read you the story. So this is the story of two friends, Wabshishi and Migaze. So Wabshishi and Migaze have been through a lot together. These two friends loved fishing and picking berries. Hanging out by the water was their favorite pastime. When one day a big boat shows up, and off that boat saunters a big old bull who says he needs help and wants to be their friend. So Migaze and Wabshishi, being good-hearted and generous, say, sure, they'll help, and they befriend the bull. Well, that bull, he traded really cool stuff with them, and he made their hunting and living a little easier. Migaze and Wabshishi showed that bull how to live on the land, and they helped that bull when he got really sick. When the bull was better, though, he seemed to bring weird things to them that at first Migaze and Wabshishi didn't understand. that bull, he hung around them a lot. He gave them candy and liquor and free food. That bull seemed harmless at first, and then he started getting bossy. That bull started acting like he owned Migizi and Wabshishi. Meanwhile, their relatives were having secret meetings about that bull and what to do about all the crazy confusion he was creating. That bossy bull was the talk of the forest. And Migizi and Wabshishi were being told by their elders that their original instructions came from the Creator, not that bossy bull. And that bull doesn't really know who they are, and that bull doesn't even really know who he is. Their purpose, the elders say, is to be good helpers and to help restore and maintain harmony and balance in creation. At last, that's what their original instructions were. Until that big old bull came along and told them that they were stupid and worthless. Oh, this stuff just didn't happen overnight. It took that bull years and years and years. And he took advantage of her kindness and how he weaseled his way into their lives. And Migizi and Wabshishi, they just didn't believe in themselves anymore. That dumb old bull, he told them that he was the boss of them now. That bull even took all their children. And he sent them away, and he told Migizi that he couldn't fly high anymore, and that he had to walk with his head down. And that bull, he told Wabshishi that she had to ask permission to travel freely around the forest, and that he tried to separate Migizi and Wabshishi. In fact, that bull thought that Wabshishi should become dependent on him. Well, Migizi and Wabshishi, inside they knew something was up. This just didn't feel right. That bull was just getting way too pushy. His arrogance was rather annoying. They knew that the bull was a parasite and would take their good life if he could. Those two, they spent hours and hours and hours talking, and they talked about it a lot. They needed to because of how that bull impacted their lives. At times it was just too much and overwhelming. And despite all their troubles, those two, they stayed the best of friends. They stuck together through thick and thin. They partied together, they laughed together, they joked around a lot together. Those two, they even started their healing journey together. And they walked into a healing lodge to find their own relatives and friends. Well, they had learned that the bull wasn't their boss after all. And he wanted to control them so that he could just get more land to graze on. Over time, they started talking to other animals and other friends, and they started attending gatherings. They learned about oppression, colonization, they learned about bullism. First they felt despair with it all. Oh, just too much. Then they felt sad and overwhelmed. As they received more knowledge about who they really were, they decided to go to school where they could learn how to help their own relatives in their own way. Now Wabshishi and Migizi, they heard of a program that was based in their culture. And this program has teachings infused throughout. Their elders say this program will help them. This program will help them become culturally based, holistic practitioners because it's steeped in their own worldview. They aren't sure about this because this is not even widely accepted among their own relatives. And they wonder why there aren't more programs like this across the land. Maybe, Wapshishi says quietly, maybe it's because the bull won't allow it. Maybe, says Migazi, raising his right wing. What do you think we're going to do there? Says Wapshishi. Well, Wapshishi's confident, and she wants to go, and she says, I'm not sure, but they call it a culture camp. And they say that we have to go there to begin building our bundles, so we can learn to be culturally relevant, holistic practitioners and good helpers. And that's what I want to do. Well, tentatively, Migazi's not so sure. He says, what if I don't like it? Well, Wapshishi responds, then you can go to any other program in the land that's been created by the bull and just keep doing the same old thing that everybody else is doing. But remember, Migazi, says her friend, you don't know what you don't know. And the elders said we need to learn. They also said you can't dismantle the bull's house using the bull's tools. And we've been using the bull's tools for a long time now. And the bull's tools aren't helping us know who we are or to find that good life. They're just keeping us down. Down. So whose tools can we use? Asks Migazi. Whose tools can we use to help us help our own relatives? Well, thoughtfully, Migazi, she's very thoughtful. She reflects on this and she says, look around, Migazi. We know the Creator gave us many gifts to help ourselves. And we've seen the power of the medicines, our own medicines in creation. So maybe, just maybe, there's something to that, eh? Maybe our tools are in all of those gifts the Creator gave us. Questioning her further, Migazi asks, so do you think they'll teach us something about that? And we'll be able to use this to help? Are you sure it's real? Are you sure we can do it? Well, frustration is starting to seep in. And she waves her paws around, and Wapshishi says, well, we know after all this time that the bull's way is not working because we're still poor. We're still hungry. We're still abused, and we're still sick. And now we're using the bull's rules, and we're hurting each other. We're killing ourselves, Migazi. Migazi, we know that. She looks at her friend pleadingly. But you know what we don't know, and we won't know until we give it a try, right? In an understanding nod at Wapshishi, Migazi responds, I don't think they use the bull's tools there, eh? So maybe the knowings and tools given to us by the Creator will benefit us. Maybe they have a bundle for us so we can become stronger. Eh, Wapshishi? Maybe. Let's go see, says Wapshishi. Agreeing to give it a try, they take a deep breath, opening themselves up to the possibilities, and they set off to culture camp. Wapshishi and Migazi know the time has come to build their knowledge, skills, and tools in culturally based ways. Something's been missing in their training, and their relatives are not getting any better. The bull's tools are spiritless and hollow, and they keep the bull in control. They know that their relatives are struggling and that their own bundle needs work. Picking up their own knowledge bundle is their responsibility. Setting off down the path towards culture camp, the two good friends remember why this learning is critical to fulfilling their original purpose, and they're filled with gratitude anticipation, and hope. That's my story. So will the Hudson's Bay have our bundles? Will Sears have our bundles? The Dollarama. Can we go to the Dollarama and get our bundles? A bundle. Where does it come from? Well, from what I know, and this is my bush kid coming out, we have to make it happen. We have to make them. We have to create them. And when I think about different things that I wear, I made this outfit 2 days ago because I couldn't go to Sears and find something that shows pride in who I am. I couldn't go to the Hudson's Bay Company without it looking kind of like new agey and tribal. That stuff is in. That reflects me. That when I sit at my sewing machine, or I'm thinking about my pattern, and I'm picking out my material, and as it emerges, and when I'm done, I feel good. Because I've made something. I've tried. I didn't have a pattern for this. I looked on the internet, and I created it. It's unique. I'll probably never make another one like it, because I don't have the pattern. I just made it. And it emerged as I started. I ripped it out, I redid the collar, I ripped it out, and I just kept trying. I took a break, I went to do something else, I came back, and I just kept trying. We can't go out and buy our bundles. We can't go out and have it packaged up and say, here, this is who you are. We have to work for it. We have to put in the time, the energy, and we have to go and get it. Or we have to create it. Everything in this little bundle, I have a little traveling bundle I carried. I just wanted to share this with you. I made. My bundle is something that I made. My husband and I, we make these things for ourselves, we made this, my shaker. I sewed my bag that I carry it in. We find the materials and the altar cloths. I make my own altar cloths. The beading, my friend beaded this for me, and then she gave it to me. But we find, my friend made this bag for me to put my stuff in. This little bundle, it's a little bundle. It's just one idea of bundles. And sometimes people gift us with things. But it's work. And when we're doing our practice, yes, we can go to school and we can get our degrees and we can learn about the theories. But building our bundles is more than that as Indigenous holistic helpers. It's more than that. It's about knowing who we are in our whole being. And knowing that, well, the Bay actually took our bundles. The Bay's rich, and we're still poor. Hudson's Bay thriving. And our bundles aren't there anymore. Our bundles are in here. So I want to acknowledge the context of our practice. Because We are wounded. I am wounded. And our people are wounded and hurt and traumatized and healing. And all of us that are working in our own, in our own communities or doing Indigenous social work practice, we go from the impacts of colonization. And that's just not a conceptual idea. I was sharing with Michael, I don't know if it's age or whatever, or having time in the last few years. But I'm continuing to do my work on myself. And more so than ever at this time in my life, I'm actively in recovery from the impacts of growing up in an alcoholic home. I'm looking at that, and I'm working on that. So the impacts of colonialism isn't just a conceptual thing. It's very real. It's very real in our anxiety. It's very real in how we live, the kinds of relationships we have, the loss of relationships, the kind of parents we are, our need for control, our need to be addicted to something, whether it's gambling or shopping or sex or relationships or alcohol or drugs, bingo. These addictions are there for a reason, and we do those for a reason. So those impacts are real. Maybe it's to not deal with our loss or our pain or our trauma, but we're all in this. And we have, how do you say, it's like that image there, it's like pieces of us are missing. When we grow up in a world where we don't hear our language and we don't see those positive representations of who we are that instill pride, that instill good feelings in our identity, then that piece is missing. And for example, I use myself as an example a lot because that's all I can do. But when I was a little girl growing up in my home, I remember searching for explanations for what the hell happened, and there were none. And I remember searching for Indian women with beers in their hands on those beer commercials, because everybody looked like they were having. And remember, I grew up in the bush, so I was isolated. I didn't grow up around people. I didn't grow up around people where I could talk to and get a sense of, oh, that's how this family is. We were in the bush, my siblings and my family and I alone. So I didn't have a lot of places other than the TV, school, where I would get mirrors of what life is supposed to be like and how is it supposed to be and what's normal. So there was a lot of guessing at what normal is. And a lot of guessing of, is this how I'm supposed to be, or is that how I'm supposed to be, or what's normal? So there were pieces missing because people couldn't explain it to me. People couldn't explain. And there were a lot of positive things missing. So, and not understanding what happened. And so the journey of our individual and collective recovery is part of the restoring of our bundle. It's part of that becoming whole. And the confusion of, where do I turn? Where do I get help? How will I get help? It's layers and layers and layers and layers. And we all have those layers. Everybody has a bag of snakes. And everybody's bag of snakes looks different. But everybody has a bag of snakes. There's nobody that can say they don't have a bag of snakes. And you can see it. People wear their bag of snakes and how they are and what they're like to be around. You can see it. You can see it more when you accept your own bag of snakes. And I know I have a bag of snakes. And I'm befriending my bag of snakes. And I'm learning. And that bag of snakes is from the impacts. It's when I feel anxious, or I'm losing control, or I feel afraid, or I worry. And I've connected the dots between those and my experiences as a child. So everybody has a bag of snakes, and how and where we turn for help. And often people don't want to change until they have to. That's the funny thing about change. Sounds nice, but it's not really very fun, because you have to end up in crises, or you have to feel like shit before you think, oh, I have to do something different. And that's the nature in our practice of the people who we work with are at that place. They're not in front of us or coming across our fields of practice because everything is okay. We're like Jedis. This is how I describe to the undergraduate students. We're like Jedis. We work on the dark side to help bring that harmony and balance. So taking care of our own bundles is really important to our work, because we work in landscapes of trauma and pain. And because we're part of that landscape, we can get triggered all the time. So we have to do our work. We have to work at restoring our own bundles. So. So to be of help, we have to do our own work. And I just talked about that, so I'll move on. That's a whole other thing, is how do we do our work. Okay. I want to acknowledge the, at Laurier, in the program that I work in, the Aboriginal Field of Study, so you can go to the next one. And what we do to build bundles. And how we work with our students, and how we work with ourselves. And it's acknowledging holistically, if you think about that medicine wheel, the spirit of our practice. It's working and acknowledging the spirit of our practice. To me, healing is learning, and learning is healing. So education is a ceremony. So when I go into work with the graduate students, or it could be undergraduate, to me that's a ceremony of learning. And I work with that group in that respectful way, because their spirit, I have the privilege to work with their spirits in that way. And building our bundles, there's a whole acknowledgement of each of us have a place here. Each of us are doing the Creator's work as helpers. Each of us have a purpose and a role in restoring harmony and balance to people, but ultimately to where our life source is, creation. And when we work with our students and in our learning spaces, we bring the medicines. We bring the medicines to our classes. We have a circle room. So all of our classes happen in a circle. And before we begin anything, we have those opening ceremonies where we smudge, and we have prayers of gratitude, acknowledging the Creator, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our Mother, the Earth, our relatives in creation, for the life that we have, for these spaces, before we even begin anything. And then we sing. We sing and we use our drums. And then everybody has a chance to share in those spaces, to bring their spirit to the space. Everybody has the opportunity to do that. And so We restore our connection. For me, one of the things, because of where I come from and my relationship to our mother, the earth, I have a responsibility, and I have to do that here too, is to remind people about our connection to her. To remind about that relationship we have to her, to our grandmother the moon, to our grandfather the sun. To tend to those relationships. Because when we tend to those relationships, they'll take care of us. It's reciprocal, it's circular, it's cyclical, it's reciprocity in motion. And so when we engage and acknowledge the spirit of learning, the spirit will help us in what needs to be shared and what needs to be received. So that's the spirit. Our bundles, we practice with Hart. So I acknowledged the drumming that we do. We use our hand drums. One of the impacts, there are many, but one of the impacts is isolation. Is that we isolate when you carry these wounds. And maybe we don't intend to do it, but I don't know how many of my friends say, I'm so terrible, I should call you, I know I've been having a hard time, but I don't. And we don't do that. Those of us that are healthy don't do that. So if you are isolated in your trauma, you don't do that. So rebuilding relationships. And we teach our students about that through their drums. I keep thinking I wish I brought my drum with me. But, or it could be with my shishiguan. So making this, when I made this, it was brand new. It came from all these pieces together. And I didn't have a relationship with it because it was awkward. You know, a new relationship, you're awkward, you don't know what to say, you think you're going to sound... And it's not until you spend time with that person, maybe a second visit, maybe a third visit, you visit. And through those visits, you build relationship. You restore your capacity to connect and come out of isolation. Or with your tools or your bundle items, you build a relationship by spending time with it, by singing, by taking risks, and looking to that relationship for connection. And in that connection, healing emerges. And so we do things in our program where we work on our relationships. We acknowledge the importance of it. And what social work practice is about, to me, it's about relationships. Everything we do, it's about relationship. It's about restoring our relationship to ourselves. It's about restoring our relationship to spirit, to our families and our communities. And what has colonization done to us? It's dismembered us from our families. It's like it violently ripped us away from our families. It ripped us away from our spirits. And it left us hurt and alone and isolated with no help, with no support, with no way to come along and pick that person up in the most loving way that was meaningful to that loss. And we didn't know how to do it. And our trainers didn't know how to teach us to do it because they don't have our bundles. We have our bundles. So those relationships that we need to be restored, they have to be done in particular ways. And we have the tools to do that. The Creator gave us those tools. But it takes time to do that. It takes particular contexts to do that. It just takes a bunch of women coming together with a hand drum to try to sing. And how many of you hand drum? How many of you sing? Well, let me tell you something. You all have the capacity to sing. Everybody has a song because you have a spirit, And your spirit wants to hear your song. Sing. Restore your spirit. Restore your connection to yourself. Give yourself a chance to feel, I did it. Give yourself a chance to feel good inside that you did it. There's no such thing as a crappy voice. There's no such thing as somebody saying, I don't know how to sing. That doesn't exist. It's not true. Go and sing to creation, because creation wants to hear your voice. Go and sing to the trees. Go on a walk and sing. Make up a song. And everybody has a song, because that song will come. That song will emerge. And I sing songs all the time, and they just emerge. It's what I see. Good morning, Blue Jay, or Minogajebeneseak, Chimigwich. I'm singing to creation. It doesn't matter what you sing. Creation wants to hear your songs, because that makes her feel good. When you go to visit, I'll translate this for you in a human way, because I think in terms of the land, and the language of the land. But humans, think about how if you had, like your mother or your grandmother, and you sang to, or your grandchildren came and sang to you, how you would feel. Or you've heard little kids sing to you, you're like, oh my God, she's singing that song, so cute, so beautiful, and it lifts you up. It makes you feel good. Well, we're the children of Mother Earth, and we're the grandchildren of Nabagesus and Mishomisgesus. And when we sing to creation, they feel good. It lifts that spirit up, lifts that energy of the land up. And in turn, when you're done that walk, their spirit will touch you. And you will walk away with something, with medicine, that will have touched you in a way. Maybe you're struggling with yourself. Maybe you had an argument with your family member. And damn it, you're right. And you're going to leave that house and slam the door, and I'll come back when you've thought about it. Well, go for a walk, because the only one you're struggling with is yourself. And go and spend some time on the land. And give that, what you're struggling with, to creation. And I guarantee, when you come back, maybe put your salmon down. There's all teachings all in that too. I'll just say, maybe put your salmon down. I guarantee when you come back, something will have changed in you. Something will have lifted, you will have shifted, and you'll think, oh my God, I'm sorry. Because the spirit of the land, the medicine will have touched you. And that takes time. But that's the heart of what that singing does. So we just want to, I talked about that. Another part of building our bundle is what you're doing here. Decolonizing your mind. And I suppose why you're here listening to me is decolonizing your mind. Understanding what the hell happened. And that's a lot to talk about, but I think you know what I mean. Understanding colonization. Understanding trauma, unresolved trauma. Understanding how we walk with that, how we carry that. Knowing, and also knowing that there's such a thing as Indigenous knowledge. There's such a thing as a cultural history, cultural knowledge. That exists and that's real. So I say to people in very concrete terms, I encourage them to learn the story of your treaty. Learn your treaty story. How many of you know your treaty story? Learn it. In the territory that you're in, what's the story of your treaty? What did your grandparents do or in this land? Learn the story of your family history. And and connect it to the dots of colonial history so you can understand what happened when. And tell those stories. Go to conferences. Write about them. Sit in circles. Share those stories. Share that collective knowledge. One of the things that's so important in that is your learning and your writing and your researching and your decolonizing journey, because our libraries need to be lifted up and built up. So the more you share your stories and tell your stories, the stronger our libraries get. So that those coming down the path behind you will have that knowledge to draw on as well. Doing. So I'm a doer. I never grew up reading too much because I grew up in the bush, so we were doers. So, and doing, like sewing and doing stuff in the house in the wintertime is typical for me. Because growing up in the bush was where we would go and we would do our projects in the wintertime. Once the spring came, we were out berry picking, gathering, hunting, fishing, we were out gardening, we were outside doing stuff. But in the wintertime was when we were doing projects in the house. And maybe it's just because we had no place to go. But like making popcorn balls on a Friday night, that was a favorite. So doing, and the things that we use, the things that are in our bundles are things that we make. So mainstream calls that occupational therapy, right? Where they get people doing things. So we build our tools, and our tools are unique and they're distinct, the tools that we use. So I know that I'm almost done. But we don't do our work in isolation. And I always want to acknowledge my husband. I acknowledge my children, the people that taught me, those elders and those teachers that blessed me with their knowledge. And all of these helpers, these are just some helpers. Jackie Green, Jean Fire Graveline, Gord Briere, Sheila Cody Meek, and they did an amazing article on hand drumming in wellness, if you haven't come across it. Myself, Renee Linklater, she just published an amazing book. So if you Google her name, I think it's Healing from the Trauma of Colonization. They're talking about culturally infused practice. That was her PhD. She finished at Boise U of T. Gus Hill, my colleague, talks about holistic healing. Of course, Michael and all the work that Michael's done over the years. Cynthia Wesley Esquimo, her philosophy and charter, who I'm sure you're familiar with. And search, and you will find other searchers along the way. Our collection is growing, but I certainly don't stand here alone. And I always feel like it's important to acknowledge the others that sit around the fire with me. And so I want to say miigwech. Carrying your bundle takes time. It's a process, it's a journey. Building your bundle, you already have it. That's the thing. You already have a spirit, a heart, a mind, and a body. It's the journey of taking care of it and tending to it and healing it and recovering it and reclaiming it. And so, if you have any questions or comments, this is, I just want to say that I'm not used to this style of like standing in the front. It's old school. We usually do things like this, but usually I would start with a smudge and a song, and so this is different, but I just hope that I shared something with you that inspires you and encourages you to tend to your bundle, tend to your fire, take care of yourselves. And if you have any comments or questions, I'm happy to try my best. Or give them to Michael.
I know it's after 1, so I know some people are going to have to take off right away. I wanted to say thank you for your presentation and you taking the time and sharing light with us. I do appreciate everyone attending, Thompson and Fort Garry and everybody here. Kathy will be available for some questions, but if anyone has to step out at this time. Small gift just to acknowledge that you're being here.
Thank you. It's a gift with heart.
So while people step out, if there's any comments or questions, Mary?
I have a question. I'm not sure if I can state yet, but I guess I just want to get maybe further verification to see what the presentation is about this afternoon, or is it a continuation of what you just presented?
I'm meeting with the Aboriginal Social Worker Society. Is it here?
Oh, okay.
Here,
So,
yeah, this room.
Oh, it's here?
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so I don't feel like I'm going to do like this so much. I wanted to talk with and have conversations with the group this afternoon and see what emerges. Yeah.
So, any questions or comments for Kathy?
So I'm a student in the MSW program. I'm a student in the MSW program at U of M, and I'm really impressed to hear how you work with your students. And so I'm just curious if you could tell me a little bit more about the program at Wilfrid Laurier. Is it a separate Indigenous social work program, or are those teachings infused in the program?
The graduate program at Laurier, the MSW program, has 3 streams, and the Aboriginal Field of Study is one of the streams. All the students walk away with an MSW, and our focus is holistic Indigenous knowledge, and our curriculum is completely different than the mainstream curriculum. It's infused with Indigenous literature, Indigenous scholarship. We do Indigenous research methodologies. We start our students out at a culture camp. The first week of class is a culture camp. It's a graduate accredited course. The program ends with a 4-day self-reflexive camp, and where our students are reflecting for 4 days about their learning. They do that in a way that they want to, in a way that is meaningful for them. Everything is done within the circle. Our students go, every month they go to a sweat lodge, and they take courses. The courses are completely different, like holistic healing practices, Indigenous research methods. They all have to do field placements, but their field placements are in settings. It could be in some of the healing lodges and treatment centers. It could be at wherever they are. And so, yeah, it is different, and they have they engage in critical decolonizing analysis of our contexts, and they focus on really, when you put people in a circle every day in a classroom, it's really about building confidence with something as simple as carrying a drum and learning to lead a song, like finding our voice. And the drum is such an amazing tool to help anybody find their voice, because you can have the smartest intellectual person who is too shy to sing, to lead a song. And that process of finding their voice and knowing that it's okay to be imperfect, knowing that it's okay to have to not be perfect, that it can be whatever it is meant to be for you, or whatever it is. That's an important part of the journey. It's acceptance of who we are and where each person is at in the journey. And we don't shove culture down people's throats. We allow people to come and be where they're at, because that's what the circle of teaching is about. And So wherever people are at, that's where they start and that's where they work from. And slowly over the year, some people that thought they would never lead a song are leading a song, or they're carrying a song. And a quick story, one of our students who had her drum was like that. She was very new, very shy, very intimidated by people who had cultural knowledge. And so our encouragement was, you know, it's not about intimidation, it's about being who you are. So that if you can be who you are, then you can help other people be who they are. Right? Isn't that what our practice is about? So if you can be a human person, that's just who you are, then. So she was working with a family who was terminal. One of the people were in, what do you call it, palliative care in the hospital. She had her drum, and this was in her field placement. And the family member was passing on. And at a time like that, what do you do? What do you say when that's happening? She couldn't find the words as a social worker to bring to the family, but she felt her drum kind of like tugging on her. So she just slowly pulled the drum out and she just started singing a song to the family, very quietly, and it transformed the whole experience for the person that was passing, for the family. It was a healing moment for everybody involved in that. So our students walk away with knowing it's their confidence to be and carry who they are. And I can't say who that is because we have students who are from across Canada. We have students who are Haida, Tsimshian, Salish, Oklahoma, Cree, Anishinaabe, Mi'kmaq, Maliseet. Students from the north. We have a student from the States this year. So it depends. Everybody's journey is unique. However, there are many commonalities, right, in all of our experiences. So it's very interesting. Thank you. Good question.
I think in order to give her a little bit of a break and to set up for